transportasyon. Isa sa mga sukatan ng kaunlaran ng isang bansa. First impression ng mga turista.
Transportation in the Philippines is relatively underdeveloped, partly due to the country's mountainous areas and scattered islands, and partly as a result of the government's persistent underinvestment in the nation's infrastructure. In the recent year, however, the Philippine government has been pushing to improve the transportation system in the country through various projects. Jeepneys are the most popular mode of public transportation in the Philippines. They have also become a ubiquitous symbol of the Philippine culture. It is a cheap mode of transportation and it is stopped anywhere along the route to pick up or drop off passengers. And they usually have designated routes painted on their side or displayed on their windshields. Another popular mode of public transportation in the country is the motorized tricycle. They are especially common in rural areas. These vehicles have been around for quite some time that banning them is really impossible. Tricycle, or sometimes called a trike, is a third-wheeled public utility vehicle consisting of motorcycle and an attached passenger's sidecar. Trains are also becoming a popular mode of public transportation in the country, especially in the bustling metropolis of Manila. The Philippines has three main railway networks. The Manila Light Rail Transit System, composed of LRT-1 and MRT-2, and Manila Metro Rail Transit System, composed of MRT-3, which only serves Metro Manila, and the Philippine National Railways, which also serves the metropolis and some parts of Luzon. Taxis and buses are also important modes of public transport in urban areas.
Land transportation has evolved throughout the human history. It started from a simple tribes, taming wild horses, and invention of the wheels. History puts it that the initial invasion of man-made transportation occurred in the Asia. And 1,000 years ago, people started to use donkeys and horses to travel and to transporting things on land. And around 3500 BC, the wheels was invented. The wheels changed the way that the people traveled and transported things. Before the wheels was invented, the amount of things people could transport overlong. And today, wheels are used in many forms of transportations, such as cars, bicycles, skateboards, and etc. The Philippines has 12 international airports and has more than 20 major and minor domestic airports serving the country. The Ninoy Aquino International Airport is the main international gateway to the Philippines. So the first human means of transports are walking and swimming. The domestication of animals introduces the new way to lay the burden of transport on more powerful creature, allowing heavier loads to be hauled, or humans to ride and animals for higher speed and duration. Invention of wheels and sled help make animals transport more efficient through the introduction of bicycle. Also, water transport, including road and sail vessels, dates back to time, and it was the only efficient way to transport large quantities or over large distances prior to the Industrial Revolutions. So here are some history evolution of land transport. So we have horses and carriage. The horses and carriage era started around the 15th century. It was first invented in Hungary. This era ended in the late 19th century when the first automobile was invented. Next, our first train ever built. In 1804, the first train ever built was in the United Kingdom by Richard Trevithick. The maximum speed was around 48 miles per hour. So next is first bicycle invented in 1817. The first Baron Carbon race made the first ever bicycle in Germany. Next is first underground line made in 1861. In London, the first ever underground line was made. It ran between Paddington and Farringdon. To make this line, creators used gaslit wooden carriage and were hauled by steam locomotives. Next is first electric car in 1884. In 1884, the first electric car was made by Thomas Davenport. It took Davenport 132 trials before the finally made his car. So next is automobile. First automobile made running on gas in 1885. In Mannheim, Germany, Carvens made the first ever car that had an internal combustion or gasoline. Next is Toyota, 1937. Toyota is the best-selling car brand in America. Was first founded in Japan by Kiichiro Toyoda. The brand is said to have extremely reliable and excellent cars at a low cost. And the last one is the bullet train in 1964. In 1964, the bullet train was made by Hideo Shima in Tokyo, Japan. The maximum speed of this train was 186 miles per hour. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Emmeline Sorvida and I am going to discuss the topic about the road transportation inland. But first, let me tell you what is the meaning of a road transportation. Road transportation is one of the modes of transportation which involves the use of motor vehicles. There are various types of roads according to size and functions. Some roads are tarred while others are not. The best of these roads are the modern roads, which links the major towns. Road transportation was developed first and it exists in all parts of the world. Road transportation compared with other modes of transportation is more flexible. No specialized machinery or technique is necessary for it to use so that all countries, no matter how backward, possess them in some form. In primitive regions, they may be simple parts suitable only for foot or hoof traffic. But in advanced regions, they are more likely to be well-made and suitable for heaviest and the most modern vehicles. Since we are already talking about the traffic, why don't we now proceed with the road itself? The Philippines has 199,950 kilometers of roads, of which 39,590 kilometers are paved, and as of 2004, the total length of the non-toll road network was reported to be 202,860 kilometers, with the following breakdown according to type. And it goes like this. For the national roads, 15%. For the provincial roads, 13%. For the city and municipality roads, 12%. And for the barangay roads is 60%. In 1940, there were 22,970 kilometers of road in the entire country, half of which was in central and southern Luzon. The roads served 50,000 vehicles. Despite having a large road network built over the country, large parts of the road network continue to be in poor condition and only 20% of the total road network is paved. And now, I am going to enumerate the different types of road transportation. We have the first one, which is the animal. Second is walking. The third one is the automobile. Fourth is cycling. The fifth is the heavy-duty vehicle. And the last one is the non-motorized transportations. That's all for the topic about road transportation. Thank you for listening and have a nice day ahead to everyone.
Let us now move on to highway. Highways in the Philippines include roads that can be classified into 6 divisions. First, the Maharlika Highway, or in English, Pan-Philippine Highway, also known as Daang Maharlika. It is the longest highway in the Philippines, labeled as National Route 1 in the route numbering system of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. It stretches 3,517 km network of roads, bridges, and ferry services that connect the islands of Luzon, Samar, Leyte, and Mindanao, serving as the country's principal transport backbone. A journey from its termini at Lawag and Zamboanga can be done faster through a more direct route via Angeles, Manila, Batangas, Mindoro, Iloilo, Negros, and the possible additional side trip to Cebu. Next is the Controlled Access Highway, also known as expressways. Basically, they are the multi-lane divided toll roads which are privately maintained under concession of the government. It is also a type of highway that has been designed for high-speed vehicular traffic with all traffic flow, ingress and egress regulated. When we say ingress and egress, it refers to the right to enter and exit a property. Later, you will find out the different expressways here in the Philippines. Aside from these two, highways also include regional highways and provincial highways. It connects cities and municipalities without traversing national roads or connect national roads to barangay through rural areas. Next in line is the Manila Arterial Road System. It comprises 6 circumferential roads and 10 regional roads connecting the cities of Metro Manila. The 6 circumferential roads around the city of Manila that acts as beltways for the city. The first 2 runs inside the Manila city proper. However, the next 3 runs outside the city of Manila. Another circumferential road is, if you're familiar with C6, it runs outside Metro Manila. For example, if you're from Rizal, Antipolo, or Taytay, you can now commute or plan your trip to other areas like Taguig, Bikutan, Parañaque, Las Piñas, or maybe Tagaytay without suffering from traffic congestion at central routes. And lastly, the secondary city and municipal avenues and roads. These are the roads within the poblacion and roads that connect to provincial and national roads. On the other hand, one of the most known highways in the Philippines is the Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, commonly referred to by its acronym EDSA. Before it got the name EDSA, the road was known as Highway 54. The highway serves the national capital region of the Philippines and also serves as an important highway in the metropolis. It also classified as circumferential road, or commonly known as C4. The avenue passes through 6 of the 17 settlements in the region, namely the cities of Caloocan, Quezon City, Mandaluyong, San Juan, Makati, and Pasay. EDSA is the longest highway in the metropolis and handles an average of 2.34 million vehicles. And as we all know, it became inextricably linked to modern Philippine history in February 1986, when millions of Filipinos gathered on EDSA to protect against the 2 decades-long abusive and corrupt dictatorship of then Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. However, Commonwealth Avenue is also an important highway in the metropolis. It serves the Quezon City area and has a length of 12.4 km. It also has 18 lanes.
The Philippines has numerous expressways and most of them are located in the main islands of the country, Luzon. The first expressway systems in the country are the North Luzon Expressway, formerly known as North Diversion Road, and the South Luzon Expressway, formerly known as South Superhighway. Both were built in 1970s during the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos. The North Luzon Expressway or NLEX is a 4 to 8 limited access toll expressway that connects Metro Manila to the provinces of Central Luzon region. The expressways begin in Quezon City at a Clovercliff interchange with EDSA, then passes through barrios in city and municipalities in the provinces of Bulacan and Pampanga. The South Luzon Expressway or XLEX is another important expressway in the country. It serves the southern part of Luzon. The expressway is a network of 2 expressways that connect Metro Manila to the provinces of Calabarzon region in the southern part of Luzon.
Railways. In the mid-19th century, transport was revolutionized by railways. Railways made travel much more faster. The first major railway was from Liverpool to Manchester. It opened in 1830. Rail transportation in the Philippines includes services provided by the 3 railway networks. First is the Manila Light Rail Transit System, or known as LRT-1 and MRT-2. Second is the Manila Metro Rail Transit System, or MRT-3, and the Philippine National Railways, or known as PNR. All of these train services only serve the Metro Manila area and some parts of Luzon. Panay Railways is an existing company that used to run rail lines on Panay until 1989 and Cebu until World War II. The Philippine National Railways is a state-owned railway system of the Philippines. It was established during Spanish colonial period. PNR aims to link key cities within the Philippines efficiently and to serve as an instrument in national socio-economic development. It also aims to improve rail transportation of the country. The PNR currently operates in the Manila metropolitan area and the provinces of Laguna, Quezon, Camarines Sur, and Albay. Before, PNR used to serve the provinces of Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, Pangasinan, and La Union in the north and Batangas on the south. The PNR used to run the only intercity train between Metro Manila and Bicol, but that is currently suspended. Next is the Manila Light Rail Transit System, or the LRTA system. It is a rapid transit system serving the Metro Manila area. It is the first metro system in Southeast Asia. The system serves 605,000 passengers each day. Its 31 stations along over 31 kilometers of mostly elevated track form 2 lines, the original LRT Line 1 and the more modern MRT Line 2, which passes through the cities of Caloocan, Manila, Marikina, Pasay, San Juan, and Quezon City, apart from the LRTA system. The Manila Metro Rail Transit System, or the MRTC system, also serves Metro Manila. The system is located along the Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, or known as EDSA, one of the Metro Manila's main thoroughfares. It has 13 stations along its 16.95 kilometers track form a single line, which is the MRT Line 3 or MRT3, which passes through the cities of Makati, Mandaluyong, Pasay, and Quezon City. Some of the stations of the system have been retrofitted with escalators and elevators for easier access, and ridership has increased. By 2004, MRT3 had the highest ridership of the 3 lines, with 400,000 passengers daily. The University of the Philippines Automated Guideway Transit System is an automated guideway transit, or AGT, system with the campus of the University of the Philippines, Diliman, in Quezon City. It is the first of its kind to be built in the Philippines.
Types of land transportation invented. In 1600s, transportation was starting to be a bit more organized. Coaches drawn by horses were used, and stagecoaches were running between major English towns regularly, but they were expensive and uncomfortable. They traveled on rough roads and had no springs, and there was also a danger of being held up on the highway. Turnpike roads open, which you had to pay first before to use it. In the year of 1662, the world's first public bus that starts in Paris, known as Omnibus, it is an organized public transit system in a city, seems to have started up in Paris in 1662. though it failed when its founder died and omnibuses didn't show up again for about 150 years after that. Some wealthy people in England and Europe were carried in sedan chairs. And the one who invented the omnibus is Blaise Pascal. Blaise Pascal is a mathematician, inventor, physicist, philosopher, author, and also general servant. In the year of 1769, Nicolas Joseph Cugnot built a three-wheeled steam-driven vehicle that is considered to be the first true automobile, it was designed to do, and Nicolas Joseph Cugnot was the first person to get into a motor vehicle accident. In 1839, Macmillan's bicycle was introduced by Kirkpatrick Macmillan. He is one of the characters of 19th century rural Scotland and is believed by many to have changed transportation forever when he built the first pedal-powered, rear-wheel-driven bicycle in around 1839. Additionally, his fellow villagers thought him mad for dreaming of such an idea, but although known locally as Daft Putty, he did indeed become the inventor of the first pedal-driven velocipede, the first bicycle as we know it, that is a bicycle with transmission and front-wheel steering. In the year 1870, the penny farthing bicycle was invented. It's technically known as a high-wheel bicycle due to its very large front wheel. The machine was a revolutionary invention at the time, providing high speed and high levels of shock absorption to its unusually large wheel. Actually, at first, these bicycles were thought of just as entertainment only, but as roads improved in cities and towns, the bicycles became a popular means of transportation. Actually, the penny farthing nickname came from the smallest and largest British coins of the time in reference to the disparity in the size of the wheels. And in the year 1885, the first petrol car was invented by Carl Benz. He gets the credit for inventing the automobile because his car was practical. It used a gasoline-powered internal combustion engine and worked like a modern cars do today. The car that he invented had 3 wheels and 2 seats for 2 people. It traveled at 13 km per hour, and later on it evolved to 4 wheels Benz car. And also in 1885, an early petrol-driven motorbike was invented by Daimler.
Lesson 2. Types of land transportation and its description functions.
So now let's proceed to the different types of land transportation. The first one in the list is the human-powered. So when we say human-powered, what is it? What? Do you guys have any idea of it? So let me further explain what does the human-powered means. So human-powered, according to our module, it is the transport of person or persons and or goods using the human muscle power. Like animal-powered transport, human-powered transport has existed since the time of immemorial, in the form of walking, running, and swimming. Modern technology has allowed to enhance the human power, although motorization has increased speed and load capacity. Many forms of human-powered transport remain popular for reasons of lower cost, leisure, physical exercise, and environmentalism. Human-powered transport is sometimes the only type available, especially in underdeveloped or inaccessible regions. To further explain this topic, in the transport sector, walking and cycling transport are often grouped together under active transport, comparing to such other transport forms as public transport or freight transport. There are 2 types of human-powered transport, which are the non-vehicular and human-powered vehicles or HPV. But for now, let me give some examples of non-vehicular. The first one in the list is the crawling or human, walking for about 240 watts, running for about 1000 watts, sprinting for about 1,700 watts at 25 kilometers per hour, swimming and diving, climbing as in mountaineering and abseiling, skating, skiing, or cross-country skiing.
So now let's proceed to the human-powered vehicles or HPV. The following examples are the human-powered aircraft, human-powered land vehicles, and the last one is the human-powered watercraft.
Let's now proceed to animal-powered transportation. Animals, specifically used for the transportation of people and/or cargo. Although they have been in frequent use in the past, they have now been replaced by motorized vehicles or bicycles in most areas, but are still appropriate in some specific contexts, such as where other opinions are limited and the animal species is already used for other reasons. Example, food. See animal husbandry. Appropriate species have the male animal used as a drop or transport animal, and the female as dairy animal or meat animal. Where there are no workshops or skill to repair motor vehicles, just like in rural and countryside area, they usually use animals to produce goods and sell it to the urban places, and where the terrain does not permit motorized vehicles, in particular very rough terrain or narrow mountain tracks. Species include wild horse, wild camel, and reindeer, as well as draft horse breeds, small horse breeds, and donkeys. Oxen and draft horses have traditionally been used for pulling loads. The temperaments of the animals vary widely. Jared Diamond's 1997 book Guns, Germs, and Steels describes how the animals of some regions were never successfully domesticated. For example, the zebra is fierce and cannot be tamed as it can its relative domestic horse. The first animal to be domesticated was the dog, approximately 31,000 years before present. The domestication of the dog was followed by livestock animals that could be used both for meat and for transporting people and goods such as the sheep, goat, cow, horse, camel, and llama. Horse was perhaps the most important domestication, especially in warfare and colonization. It also contributed to the strength and longevity of Persian Empire because horses were used to perform cavalry roles, transport supplies, equipments, gun, and ammunitions. Horse is also a way of communication. Horses were also beneficial to the medical community. Doctors were quickly able to reach their patients, which saved many lives. When the automobile was invented in 1885, animal transportation gradually became obsolete for most cultures. Mechanized transportation obviously changed and made everything accessible. However, replacing animal transport with machines has polluted our environment. Using carts. Carts can be used to considerably reduce the effort needed to transport one or more persons by means of animal power. They have this advantage, though, that due to the use of wheels, the terrain needs to be flat. Another disadvantage is that the weight of the cart itself is of course also added. The ground and animal only has to pull it forward. The cart use is best kept as lightweight as possible while keeping them sturdy. Horse-drawn carriage. A horse-drawn carriage or buggy can still be ridden today in many parts of United States and all over the globe. These are driven by a single man and are powered by 2 horses. Although you may see 1 horse per buggy, these carriages are usually open and are meant for families and couples to enjoy a scenic around town. The most famous active horse carriage can be found in New York City's Central Park. Stagecoach. Stagecoach was the precursor to the modern automobile and can still be seen in many Wild West-themed amusement parks. These are similar to the horse-drawn buggy, but were used on more long-haul trips, carrying not only people, but also luggage and cargo. While the horse-drawn buggy may only have 1 or 2 horses, the stagecoach will often have 4 or more for a heavier load. The term stage originally referred to the distance between stations on the route, the coach traveling the entire route in stages, but through through constant misuse, it came to apply to the coach. A stagecoach could be any four-wheeled vehicle pulled by horses or mules. The primary requirement being that it was used as a public conveyance, running on an established route schedule. Dog sleds. Dog sleds were once the most common mode of transportation in the snowy and icy terrains. They were quick and made hunting in these harsh conditions easier. Since the dogs were able to smell prey and steer the sled toward it, most sleds had enough room for 2 people were led by at least 3 dogs. They are still used today, but much less often for real transportation and much more often for tourist attractions. The most popular dog sledding seen today is the Iditarod, a race over 1,150 miles. Donkey or mule cart. In mountainous areas, mule and donkey were once used as primary transportation, not only for humans but to carry loads of cargo. Mules are smaller that are able to maneuver on steeper mountain cliffs and roads easier than a horse. While most mountainous areas have since built roads for cars, many people in Mexico, South America, and Greece still use mule carts in traditional ways. Oxen and camels. Oxen and camels are used similarly to mules and horses to pull large carts and heavy cargo. Often in many developing countries, oxen can pull heavier items and pull for longer than horse, making them valuable animals in India and other parts of the globe. Camels are traditionally ridden for human transportation, like horse, but are also used to pull heavy cargo in Pakistan and other countries. Camels can do a lot of work without much rest of water, which makes them perfect for long trips.
Now, let's begin. The main characteristic of railway transport is guided movement of railway vehicles in the direction forced by rails.
The oldest man-hauled railways date back to the 6th century BC with Priander, one of the 7 sages of Greece, credited with its invention. Rail transport blossomed after the British development of the steam locomotive as a valuable source of the power in the 18th and 19th centuries. With steam engines, it was possible to construct mainline railways, which were a key component of the Industrial Revolution. In the 1880s, electrified trains were introduced, and also the first tramways and rapid transit system came into being. Starting during the 1940s, the non-electrified railways in most countries had their steam locomotive replaced by diesel-electric locomotives, with the process being almost complete by 2000. During the 1960s, electrified high-speed railway systems were introduced in Japan and a few other countries.
In principle, each rail is rolled along steel beam. The widest part is the rail foot, which helps fixing the rail on the slipper. Above it there is the rail web, and at the top there is the rail head. The rail head is a contact point between the wheel and the rail. The rail fastening system fixes the rails to the slippers, but it also helps to determine their position towards the longitudinal axis of the track. There are different systems of fastening, but let's say common components of rail fastening system include rail tie plate, spike, clip, rail anchor, or other fasteners. The fish plate is a metal plate that joins the ends of 2 rails. If you remember, we mentioned fish plates in the video Catastrophic Railway Accidents in Asia, when the lack of one piece of rail and a fish plate was considered the cause of devastating train derailment. The slippers with their fastening distribute the load applied to the rails and keep the rails at constant spacing. This constant spacing is also known as track gauge, bar. Slippers can be made of wood, concrete, or even steel. External forces and ensures the quick drainage of rainwater. As you might conclude, each of these elements has a clearly defined roles, different evolution through history thanks to which it has today's shape, strict rules in terms of installation, and also there are different systems and varieties applied in practice for each of these elements, and adapting to modern demands. namely increased transport needs required introduction of fast and powerful locomotives, EMUs capable of reaching higher speeds, and the increase in load capacity of wagons. In addition, there has been a significant increase in volumes of transport on the existing railway lines, and many new ones have also been built. All of this, among other, dedicated a need for the improvement of quality and performance of railway track. In that sense, some alternative solutions have been developed, with the most advanced being a ballastless track.
Let's talk about rail transport or railway transport. It is defined as the movement of people and commodities via use of railways or railroads. It is commonly referred to as train transport. In contrast to road transport, where vehicles merely run on a prepared surface, rail vehicles are also directionally guided by the tracks on which they run. Commuter rail or suburban rail is a passenger rail transport service that primarily operates within a metropolitan area, connecting commuters to a central city from adjacent suburbs or commuter towns. Generally, commuter rail systems are considered heavy rail using electrified or diesel trains. So here in the Philippines, we have the Philippine National Railways or the PNR. It is a state-owned railway company in the Philippines which operates the commuter rail service between Metro Manila and Laguna, and also have local services between Sipuhot, Naga, and Legazpi in the Bicol region. It is an attached agency of the Department of Transportation established during the Spanish colonial period. If you would ask if rail transportation is still so important today, then the answer is yes. Because railways carry people and goods over long distances quickly and cheaply, and it also capable of high levels of passenger and cargo utilization and energy efficiency. Railways are also safe land transport system when compared to other forms of transport. It has an efficient system of rail traffic, signaling, and communication system.
And now let's talk about the LRTA system. The Manila Light Rail Transit System is the main metropolitan rail system serving the Metro Manila area of the Philippines. There are two lines to the system, LRT1 called the Yellow Line and MRT2 called the Purple Line. The Manila LRTA system is the first metro system in Southeast Asia, built earlier than the Singapore MRT by 3 years. Quick and inexpensive to ride, the system serves 605,000 passengers each day. Every day, around 430,000 passengers board the Yellow Line and 175,000 ride the Purple Line. Its 31 stations along over 31 kilometers of mostly elevated track form two lines. LRT Line 1, also called the Yellow One, opened in 1984 and travels a north-south route. All of the stations of LRT1 and MRT2 are elevated except for the Katipunan stations, which is underground. They follow one of two different layouts. Many passengers who ride the system also take various forms of road-based public transport such as buses to and from stations to reach their intended destination. A reusable plastic magnetic ticketing system has replaced the previous token-based system, and the Flash Pass introduced as a step towards a more integrated transportation system. Next is the MRTC system. The system is not related to Manila Metro Rail Transit System or the Blue Line, which form a completely different form but link system of the Philippine National Railways. The Manila Metro Rail Transit System has a single line, MRT3 or the Blue Line.
although it has characteristics of light rail such as the type of rolling stock used. One of its original purposes was to decongest Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, which is EDSA, one of the Metro Manila's main thoroughfares and home to the MRT. And also many commuters who ride the system also take a road-based public transport such as bus to reach the intended destination from C station. The single line serves 13 stations on 16.95 kilometers of line. It is mostly elevated with some sections, all grade or underground. The line commences at North Avenue and ends at Taft Avenue, serving the cities that EDSA passes through: Quezon City, Mandaluyong, Makati, and Pasay. By 2004, MRT-3 had the highest ridership of the three lines with 400,000 passengers daily. And for the last one is the AGT system. The automated guideway transit system in UP Diliman will be the first of its kind to be built in the Philippines. Plans for the system were revealed as early as December 10. The groundbreaking ceremony was held on July 18, 2021. It's still currently under construction. It will be developed within the campus of the University of the Philippines, Diliman in Quezon City. It will serve as test track for the first mass transit system to be built and developed in the country by local engineers. The initial test track is 465 meters along with an elevation of 5 meters between CP Garcia Avenue across the Commission on Higher Education building and the Jacinto Street running along the College of Fine Arts. In his speech during his 2011 State of the Nation, President Benigno Aquino III called the development of the AGT elevated train system as a potential solution to the problem of mass transportation in country. The project could result in more kilometers of cheap transport, decongesting urban centers and allowing rural communities easier access to centers of commerce and industry.
And now let's tackle about road transport. Road transport is the transport of passengers or goods on roads. Transport on roads can be roughly grouped into the transportation of goods and transportation of people. Road transport means transportations of goods and personnel from one place to another on roads. Road transport is the physical process of transporting cargo or people by road using motor vehicles or other means such as bicycles, motorcycles, and etc. Road transport can be classified as transporting either goods and materials or transporting people. Here's the types of road transport. First is man drive. The second is animal driven. Number 3 is motor driven. First is man driven. We might have seen individuals carrying of goods on their head or back, on bicycles or on the trolleys pushed on carts moving from one place to other. People ride a bicycle or use rickshaw to travel short distance. The second is animal driven. Vehicles like carts, drones, bullocks, camels, horses, donkeys, and etc. used in rural areas to carry crops, straw, fodder, and sometimes even people. The last but not the least is motor driven. Means of transport have become more popular due to their speedy movement and larger carrying capacity. The types of motor vehicles used to carry goods and passenger includes auto rickshaws, scooter, vans, buses, stems, trucks, and etc.
Pipeline transportation is a progressive and economically advantageous mode of transportation. Pipeline transport sends goods through a pipe. Most commonly, liquid and gases are sent, but pneumatic tubes can also send solid capsules using compressed air. For liquids or gases, any chemically stable liquid or gas can be sent through a pipeline. Short distance systems exist for sewage, slurry, water, and beer, while long-distance networks are used for petroleum and natural gas. What are the three types of pipelines? There are essentially three major types of pipelines along the transportation route. First, gathering system. Second, transmission systems. And third, distribution systems.
Cable transportation. Cable transport is a broad mode where vehicles are pulled by cables instead of internal power source, commonly used in a steep gradient and also known as cable cars. Typical solutions include aerial tramway, elevator, escalator, and ski lifts. Some of these are also categorized as conveyor transport. The cable may be driven or passive, and items may be moved by pulling, sliding, and sailing, or by drives within the object being moved on cableways. Types of cable cars or cable transport: aerial tramway, chairlift, gondola lift, bi-cable gondola lift, and tri-cable gondola lift.